Imagine if suddenly no one noticed you existed. That's what happened to this dude after he woke up as a ghost. Now he has to solve what happened to him and try to communicate to others. We start off with a bunch of people at a dinner table outside a house. They're celebrating Nick. His mom is giving a speech and she mentions that Nick's dad is late. Nick leaves the table. He goes to cut a cake which has his face on it. He enters the house, sits on a stool, and aims a pistol at his face. But just before he shoots, he wakes up. It was all a dream. Now he's at breakfast with his mom, and that's a funny-looking smiley breakfast for a grown man. He asked his mom if she has thought about some writer's course in London that he wants to go for, and it doesn't look like she's in support of it. So he turns the smile on his breakfast into a frown. How cute. He's currently biking to school. He conducts a business exchange at school. He did homework for some guy. After giving the homework to the guy, his girlfriend asks if he's coming to a party tomorrow night. But he says he can't because he'll be busy. Next we see two guys and a girl trying to get some money from this guy. He owes them. The leader of the gang, Annie, threatens him with a knife, but she doesn't really do anything except scratch him on the finger. Now we're in Nick's class and a guy's reading his homework to the class. The teacher asks Nick to top that. He goes to the front, sits on the table, and reads his work. The poetry is good, but his classmates seem very bored. They pack their bags and leave when the bell rings. The students are in the cafeteria. The guy who was scratched is Nick's best friend, Pete. Nick advises Pete to stand up for himself and not let people push him around. Pete says he can't. Nick fights to help his friend. He pays Pete's debt and tells Annie she is so broken. He thought he could get away with it, but Annie reacted quickly and attacked him within seconds, landing some punches on his face. Two of them are waiting to see the principal and having a heart-to-heart. She argues he's not superior for selling essays. He admits his hypocrisy, and the principal sends Annie home. He instructs Nick to stop wasting time on lost souls like Annie Newton. She has no future. You do. Don't let us down, he says. And Nick's only reply is, "Can I leave now?" Annie returns home. She confronts her stepmother for making dinner for her brother. An argument erupts between her dad and stepmom, while Annie heads upstairs to make a sandwich for her brother, Victor. Victor asks her if she'll be going out tonight, and she says yes. You can see the boy's mood change. Pete arrives at Nick's house and teases him about being beaten up by a girl. Relatable. Pete asks Nick about the party, and Nick says he won't be around by tomorrow. He'll be in London for the writers' program. His mom is unaware, but he's still going. He says she constantly tries to micromanage him and control everything, but he's not going to let her have this one. Annie gets in a car with her boyfriend, Marcus, and they're off to rob a jewelry store. Annie breaks the glass, steals jewelry, and escapes in a Mercedes driven by Marcus. The next morning, Annie prepares for school and leaves with her bag. Marcus asked her to leave the bag with him, but she refuses, insisting he won't act on it. He takes action. He calls the police using his phone. Oh, what a rat. At school, we see Annie take the bag and put it in her locker. She closes her locker and sees Pete staring at her. A few minutes later, the cops arrive, open her locker, find the jeweler in the bag, and arrest her. She updates Marcus by calling him from the station. He asks if she knows how they found out. She confirms and says she'll handle it. Do you really? After the call, she leaves the station determined to take revenge on the person she believes betrayed her. Now we see Pete saying goodbye to Nick. Nick hugs someone and goes home, where his mom learns about his London ticket. The airline contacted him to notify that his flight time has been changed. She challenges him. He apologized and said he was trying to discuss it with her. She notes he had the ticket for weeks, so he was going to go regardless of her opinion. She was shocked he was leaving without saying anything. She feels like she's been living with a stranger. Nick is preparing to leave his room. He puts a watch in his pocket. Pete is walking briskly when suddenly, an unknown guy punches him out of nowhere. It's Annie's guys. They take him to Annie. She thinks it's him who ratted her out, so she's beating him up, trying to get him to admit to something he didn't do. He can't endure the torture and agrees to reveal the perpetrator. Who are you implicating now? The answer is his best friend, Nick. You need to understand his reasoning. It's not like he's a snake or anything. He thought Nick would have left the country by now, leaving Annie without anyone to beat up. Nick's flight was delayed, causing inconvenience. He's asking his girl at the party if she wants to visit London. He gives her the ticket and wishes her a good time while they hang out. His mom's speech changed his mind, and now he no longer wants to go. And you know that isn't good news for anybody. He was walking home when a car chased and pushed him into a ditch. It's Annie and her boys. They're attacking him. Pete exits the car and attempts to explain his reasoning, but no one listens. Annie now picks Nick up and asks him, "Who's broken now?" And he still answers, "You are." Many people admire a brave and bold man. Okay, sorry, I misspoke. Nick receives more punches and a hard kick to the face. The kick kills him, and they dispose of the body in a hole. Nick's watch falls unnoticed during the process. I could forgive Pete before, but not now. Why would you choose to be part of that? He's your best friend, for crying out loud. Annie returns home and confesses to Marcus. She tells Marcus she killed the person who betrayed her. but he's shocked because he knows that wasn't the actual betrayer. He is asking her why she came. "I'm on parole, Annie. Why'd you come here?" He asks her to leave. She feels betrayed. Betrayed? Wait till you find out that he's the one who sold you out. She destroys items in his workshop, kisses him ironically, and leaves. The following morning, she burns the clothes she wore last night. You won't believe what we see next. Nick. He emerges from the woods untouched. So clean and fresh. He walks to school and attends class. But here's the thing. No one can see him. He's, how do you say it? Invisible. Relatable. Nobody realizes he's in class, although he's right there, hearing everything they say. They take the chance to express their feelings about him, including his girl. She accuses him of being pretentious and trying to feel important. These girls are untrustworthy. His best friend betrayed him too. So actually, don't trust anybody, bro. He initially believes they are just teasing him, but then he takes a book, throws it at a shelf. The book stays on the table. He uses the principal's office phone to call his mom. He's directly in front of the principal, but remains unseen. This guy must be John Cena. He yells to his mom. He hears her talking to detectives about him, but she can't hear him. He's running home now. He bumps into someone in the school hallway. Gets hit by a car and truck with no real-life consequences. He arrives home to find detectives searching everywhere for him. He attempts to comfort his mother by saying he's dead, but she can't hear him. Now he's just wandering the streets. Man, if I found out I was invisible, I would be doing a lot more than just walking the streets. Brian and Kate, the detectives, are making progress with their investigation. The principal informed them that Nick fought with Annie. They go to Annie's house. Brian knew Annie from childhood because her dad was a cop. They're on the roof questioning Annie about her activities last night, with Nick supervising. But he also finds out that Annie clapped him because she thought he ratted her out. He throws her off the roof, but it doesn't succeed. The detectives search the woods for Nick's body, and Annie tells Pete to be there. Nick hears that and gets visibly sick. He's in his room now and he can see his mom come in and go through his stuff. She's reading a poem he wrote and he's reading along with her. His bird joins him in a hidden paradise. He holds it in his hands and after some seconds it disappears. That's a revelation for him. He says, "I'm alive," and he runs straight to where his body was dumped. He's trying to get the search party to find him, but he's struggling with the humans. The dog appeared to see Nick but turned away at the last moment. The dog found Nick's watch. Pete is updating Annie and the gang. He feels they'll soon be found out, so he says he'll go to report to the police. If he reports, Annie says he'll go to jail too. Meanwhile, Nick is there listening to everything. Penny sneaks back into her house, trying to pack her stuff and run away. Victor wakes up and asks if she's leaving forever like their mom did. Oof, it's really sad. Annie is crying now. Despite her cold demeanor, she is gentle with this boy. She tells Victor to never be like her. Excellent advice. Her dad tells her to leave, and she agrees. If anything happens to her younger brother, she will return and clap him. She leaves and Nick performs another monologue, informing her that her terrible family dynamic doesn't excuse her actions. The woods search escalates. We can see choppers and ambulances now. A professional says if Nick is alive out there, he has 2-3 days tops. We see Nick's body and his fingers twitching. He's really alive. Detective Brian now goes to have a word with Marcus. He inquired if he was with Annie on Tuesday night, and he confirmed. He asked him if he was with her the night she robbed the jewelry store, and he said no. He knows nothing about that. Although Brian knows Marcus has been on parole for 8 months, he doesn't stress it much. He leaves his card with Marcus, asking him to call if he sees Annie, as he needs to discuss a missing person at her school. Brian informs Marcus that he knows the brand of the car stolen the same night the jewelry store was robbed. Nick tells his mom he knows this won't change anything for her, because she always has everything under control. He yells at her, shakes her, scatters her things, and even throws a chair through the window. None of that actually happens. His mom breaks down and starts crying a few moments later. She's crying loudly, calling out for Nick. Pete is walking in the rain when Marcus suddenly appears, grabs him, and points a gun at his chest. Marcus informs Pete he's being followed by the police, and it's true. He takes Pete to the woods, where Pete shows him the body's location. Marcus attempts to lure Annie to a spot to harm her, but she becomes suspicious. She tells Pete to go in her place. Pete leaves, followed by Detective Kate, after Nick tried to wake her up. Pete is at the bridge with 2 guys as Annie watches from afar. Marcus approaches from behind and points a gun at her. He takes her to the bridge where the others are and tells Pete to leave. He runs home. He was very grateful for being invited. Marcus says they need to hurry because Pete is being followed. He's right, but it's too late. The cops are already here. Anthony takes a shotgun from Marcus and points it at the cops, but they are surrounded. Danny is a remarkable survivor. She escapes by climbing out. Peter Parker would be extremely proud. Nick warns Annie that she'll be caught as she runs away. She appears to hear him, turning around and yelling something. Nick said she heard him. She sells Marcus's ring to a guy at a club. After being paid, she decides to stay and dance a bit. She removes her hoodie and beanie, then starts dancing in a typical white woman style while Nick watches. The following day, she visits her mother's grave to apologize. Nick expresses that he sometimes wishes his mom had died instead of his dad due to the pressure she puts on him. He touches Annie's shoulder. He urges her to reveal where his body is, knowing she can hear him, but she simply stands up and leaves. He follows her. She sneaks into the school at night, leaves money in an envelope for Victor, and places it in her locker. Nick is there to tell her he's dying and he doesn't have much time left. Ironically, she alone can save his life. You can tell she can hear his voice in her head. He screams her name. She turns around but sees no one. She's miserable now. Nick ensures he doesn't look as she goes to take a shower. Nick, who was in the hole, opened his eyes at this point. Annie and Nick are sleeping in the basketball court. He ran his hands over her, calling her name. He oversleeps and is woken up by the basketball team that comes in for practice. How are you a ghost and oversleeping or sleeping at all for that matter? Anyway, now we see Annie in Nick's house. She's feeling nostalgic while looking at his old photos. Don't tell me these two are falling in love. Even Nick is smiling despite his body decaying in that hole. Nick's mom interrupts and stops any romantic developments. Annie runs out of the house and straight into the woods to where they dumped Nick's body and Viola. The body isn't there. Nick tells Annie that someone moved his body and asks her to think. She sees the substances that she found with Pete days back, and that tells her that Pete was here. She pursues Pete at school. Pete tells her that Nick never took her for a ride initially. He admits that he and Marcus moved the body. So she goes after Marcus. She ambushes him in his car near a police station. She leads him to a precipice and tells him to kneel. Role reversal moment. She aims a gun at him. Meanwhile, Pete is trying to self-delete. Nick is pleading, but Pete is oblivious. During his transition between life and death, Pete encounters Nick. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.